Hey everybody, this is Greg DeRocher, CEO from Safe Ride for Kids, where our company's mission is to help you and your family make every arrival a safe arrival. Today we're going to be talking about kind of the history of seatbelts and how they apply and how that history applies to the pregnant mother. Seatbelts first got started in aircraft actually, and the first seatbelt was installed by a vehicle manufacturer in 1950. The federal government didn't really start with any sort of legislation or regulation around highway safety until 1968. And it wasn't until shortly after that those safety standards included the testing of the seatbelt and how it would be configured and the crash test criteria, etc. So it went unregulated for quite a period of time before it started getting regulated by the government. Pregnant women back in the 50s, 60s, and 70s, and probably even into the 80s, were a much less at-risk demographic than they are today. There were a fraction of the number of cars on the road back in the 50s, 60s, 70s than there are today, and women made up a much smaller percentage of the workforce overall. Today, women spend many times more hours and miles in their car driving, especially or including when they're pregnant. So the risk has gone up exponentially over the last 30 years or so. One gentleman by the name of Jim Hofferberth was the director of the Office of Crashworthiness at NHTSA. He talks about how in the mid-60s and early 70s, NHTSA and I believe the vehicle manufacturers were engaged in looking at the issue of pregnant women and the seatbelt and the adverse interactions between the two. And they were actually even using live pregnant baboons in part of their crash testing, as well as human cadaver crash testing. What they found was that, yes, there are indeed significant risks posed to the unborn baby and the pregnant mother from the configuration of the existing seatbelt system. But the problem was that there wasn't a better way to do it. So for the last 50 years, the best practice recommendation has been for pregnant women to first and foremost wear their seatbelt, because wearing the seatbelt is and has been the best that a woman could do, because the number one outcome, the number one objective of any restraint system is to keep the occupant inside the passenger compartment. Once somebody is ejected or thrown out of the car, their probability of being hurt severely or even fatal injuries goes up exponentially. So wearing a seatbelt is safe for a pregnant woman. It has been the best practice. But there's never been anything that addresses the special need scenario of pregnancy for the pregnant woman, because this seatbelt system was never designed, intended, or tested to provide optimum protection for the pregnant woman and her unborn baby. In 2008, a gentleman in Australia introduced a product to the market called the Tummy Shield. The Tummy Shield creates a crash-tested, highly engineered anchor point between the mother's legs, into which she slips the vehicle seatbelt system, the lap portion of the seatbelt. What that does is, A, it makes the seatbelt more comfortable to wear, and in the event of a crash or even a sudden stop, the energy, the restraining force, is redirected to the legs, essentially making the lap part of the seatbelt a leg harness. And as we all know, if we all were going to be optimally protected, we would be in 5-point harnesses, much like a race car driver. So the Tummy Shield takes us one step closer to that 5-point harness by creating an anchor point between the mother's legs to redirect the lap portion of the seatbelt. And our company, Safe Ride for Kids, is very happy to be introducing that product here in the U.S. Back in early November, we were contacted by a woman named Taylor out in California. And Taylor let us know that she had recently been involved in a car crash. She was 8 months pregnant at the time. And she was the passenger in the car, correctly wearing her seatbelt per the best practice recommendations from the government, which are having the lap portion of the seatbelt as low as possible under the pregnancy, and the shoulder portion mid chest with the seatbelt going between the breasts. She was wearing her seatbelt correctly on the passenger side. It was a forward impact. Somebody pulled out in front of them. They hit them, and their baby Bailey suffered severe brain injury and skull fractures as a result of her impact with the seatbelt. In other words, as a result of the seatbelt doing its job, Bailey experienced fatal injuries. She lived for about 12 hours after being delivered by emergency C-section. Taylor then found us and the Tummy Shield and contacted us with the question, what can we do to make this more well known? And you're going to be seeing some videos coming out that we have of our interview that we did with her. An amazing story, and we're very proud of Taylor and Ryan, baby's father, or Bailey's father, for the courage that they've had to speak out and to help raise awareness that this really is an issue, and it does happen, and there is something out there to help. So that's kind of the story, the history of seatbelts, and how they relate to pregnant women, and what's now the best practice way for a pregnant woman to ride, which is using the Tummy Shield to redirect those crash forces or restraining forces away from her baby. We have a guide on our website that is going to give you some additional safety tips and information. So if you like this video and you want more information about how to be safe in the car while you're pregnant for you or a loved one or a friend, go ahead and download our report from the website below. Make sure to follow us, and we'll be doing more informational videos like this in the future. And remember that safety is about making informed choices that put the odds in your favor. Thanks very much, and have a great day.